And after I get off stage, I'm like, should I just never speak Spanish again? Like, not even to my parents. Like, that's how bad I
Oh
feel.
no! Like, should
That's
I
how
just
bad.
refrain from my mother tongue
Yeah, Spanish
forever?
is a dead language anyway. No one even fucking speaks it.
Hey there, and welcome to Takeout and Talk, a new series from Cocina and Mecenas Media where culture is always on the menu, even if it arrives in a paper box. I'm Xorje Olivares, and today I'm so excited to be joined by podcaster and stand-up comedian Milly Tamarez. Now, if that name or voice ring a bell to you, it's because she was recently featured on Cocina's other video series, Fit Check Food Check, with my colleague Tess Garcia. But Milly and I go back several years, and I wanted a chance to reconnect, have a reunion of sorts, to talk about what she's been up to, how she's continuing to perform stand-up comedy, not only here in the United States, but also in Latin America. We talk about the distinction between English language audiences and Spanish language audiences for herself. We also talk a lot about Latinidad and how she's felt maybe a little differently in her skin living in Brooklyn, maybe as opposed to coming from Miami, where she's natively from. We talk about what I've missed in her career, what she continues to do as a podcaster on her hit show, Go Touch Grass, and how there might be a difference between holding a podcast microphone and a comedy microphone. But the one thing I know for sure is that Milly brings her whole self to everything she does. She is a performer with a capital P, and I'm so excited that she gets a chance to share her perspective with me and with you here on Takeout and Talk. I haven't seen or spoken with, honestly, Milly in several years, but
Yeah.
I love that it just like comes back up together just so
Yeah.
easily because I've had a chance to work with this fantastic comedian, at least in my past life, and I'm excited to bring her back into this new endeavor that I'm embarking on with Cocina. And I'm excited because we've never eaten together, and I feel like that changes a lot of one's dynamics and relationships. So I'm excited that we're not only eating together, but you kind of went all out for our takeout option today because this is like a renowned, written upon. Tell me more about what you got for us today.
No, okay. So I got a sandwich from this place called Carmenta's by my house. And it is a Italian. They do a lot of pastas and a lot of I mean, is the staff all Mexican? Of course. But they do really, really good Italian sandwiches. And like with chicken parm and all this shit. So a few weeks ago, the New York Times had published an Instagram, which is like best sandwiches nearby each park. So, like, if you go to different New York City's parks, you should get a sandwich from this place. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like a New York Times renowned, like blah blah blah, but it's just
Yeah.
like if you go to this, so there's all these different parks in the city, and here's a sandwich place. So I live not too far from a park called Maria Hernandez Park. Uh,
Okay.
and then they say if you go to Maria Hernandez Park, which I do, I bring my dog there. You should get a sandwich from Carmenta's. And they tell you which sandwich. I didn't get that sandwich. This is a special sandwich.
And this special sandwich is one in particular.
Yeah, this is the chicken and arugula sandwich. I mean, look at the wrapping. They're doing something with this.
Honestly, it for those who are watching this, or maybe if you're not, it kind of matches your shirt, right? Doesn't the wrapping
Look at
have that
this.
like cute burgundy look to it?
Yeah, it's like so it's very aesthetic and cute. It looks like kind of like a real somewhere you would go in Italy. It's like no frills, but
Mm-hmm.
it's Italy with Mexicans, which is Bushwick, really.
Which, if you've ever lived in the New York area, ever visited Bushwick, you understand Mexicans are aplenty,
Yes,
regardless of the cuisine that you're ordering or visiting.
and a lot of Ecuadorians too. Actually, Bushwick is super Ecuadorian right now,
Hmm.
and that's really fun to see. Look at the grease on this. Look at the
Honestly, I
grease.
think the grease on the paper is what makes me more excited for you to have this sandwich because you know that
You just
it
know it's
hasn't,
real.
the wrapping hasn't fallen apart. Like the
No.
wrapping is still intact and the grease is just showing you like, wow, you're in for quite a treat.
See, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, so we got a chicken cutlet. I think there's ricotta cheese, arugula, and some kind of pesto on a seeded. I mean, come on, dog. Come
See,
on.
see,
I'm gonna
this is what I
cry.
always say when with regards to ordering sandwiches. Yes, I could make myself a sandwich. Could I make
No,
myself that sandwich? No, I
no.
could not. There's no way I would have access to that kind of bread. Am I coming up with a chicken cutlet? Where the fuck am I getting a chicken cutlet right now? Not doing any of that. So being able to treat yourself and order that is exactly the case. And it's funny because I did order myself a sandwich, and follow me along with my thought process for this
Okay.
sandwich
Okay.
selection. So I ordered from a place called Wise Sons Deli. And the reason I did that is like, if I'm talking to a New Yorker, let me get a sandwich that somehow reminds me of my time in New York. So for those who are listening, I lived in New York for 10 years. That was when I had the opportunity to meet and work with Millie.
Yeah.
And I got it's called the OG Reuben. So it's a
Oh.
pastrami sandwich with all the fixings that you could ever imagine in a Reuben sandwich. And my understanding was how better to really talk to somebody who reminds me of New York, who embodies New York, than to have a New York meal.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that we're right there. We both got the sandwiches. For me, New York also embodies Dominican American, Caribbean culture in certain pockets of the city and the certain boroughs. Like, do you feel that too? Clearly, as somebody who is a part of that culture?
Um. Sorry, I'm really eating the sandwich.
No, as you
Um.
should.
Absolutely. I think like that was even so. I grew up in Miami, which was a very heavily like even more Caribbean. I feel like Caribbean is spread out throughout, and like there's a Trinidadian neighborhood, Jamaican, and all that, and like whatever. But like in Miami, it was much more like the Dominican places here, Jamaican,
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely grew up very like it 100% in my Latinidad, in my like I'm a Latina woman, no doubt about that. I even kind of to the point where not that I was ashamed of being a Dominican, but I'm like, there's nothing special about this. Everyone's Dominican. Everyone who looks like me, I'm not different. I'm not like, I look like everybody else. And then when I started traveling to different parts of the country, it's like, one, I'm not like everyone else. And two, I'm not even Latina in certain parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to college in Southern California, and I'm black in California, and I would try to reach out for and like when I would go to places, I would speak in Spanish, like I would anywhere. Like in Miami, it's kind of like you speak in Spanish first because that's the safer option, and then but in when I would be in LA or in Orange County where I went to college, it was all like people are so shocked, like, oh, where'd you learn your Spanish or what's going on? And even my, Mexican American friends would say some stuff to me that it just wouldn't register. They're like, oh, my parents would kill me if I brought a black guy home. And I said, well, how can you tell? How could they tell? That's what I said. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? And I'm like, what? And they're like, what? And we're like,
Just
what?
like go back and forth, like, what are you talking about? What are you
What are
talking
you talking
about?
about? What are you talking about? So what I found with Miami, like post college, was I don't know. I just feel like, and I studied abroad in Japan and all that, and like I'm just someone who just really appreciates and loves the world and can see really cool things of every culture and of everything. And like I think one of my strengths is that I'm able to like adapt and talk to anybody and whatever. But I find that in places where I don't have any kind of core, it's hard for me, so I had a hard time in
Absolutely.
Orange County. I had a real, I studied abroad in Japan, and it was just constantly getting stares and people like not understanding my hair and like
Mm-hmm.
first person. So I'm just like, I can't do this where I'm like the most like it's like I can't be in a place where I'm exactly like everyone else, and I don't want to be in a place where nobody has ever seen someone like me. So I feel like, but I want to be able to experience different cultures and have all kinds of friends and be in art and have, and it's just like
Yeah.
New York City is like kind of the best for that.
Even though it wasn't, I grew up in a heavily Mexican place, and there's not many Mexicans in Washington Heights, at least
No,
during the era that I was living there.
not no. Now it's different.
Yeah. So even just being exposed to Latinos helped tremendously as I was trying to figure out, like, who am I as this 21-year-old trying to venture into a new city, not only a new city, the greatest city that ever existed. Like, what is it? Oh,
I'm
Millie
sorry.
does.
I'm thinking of 21-year-old Jorge. Turn it up in Washington Heights. Turn it up in Washington Heights. Acting
Oh,
a goddamn fool.
went to La Boy, went to No Parking, which unfortunately no longer exists
Yeah,
in
because
this
you shut it
era.
down because you were acting too crazy.
They're like, if this little Mexican boy is doing all of this, we can't have this operating any longer. But there's something so beautiful of still feeling accepted amongst
Hmm.
these other Latinos who really, other than language, had not many other similarities to me. And I'm curious, especially since you're in Brooklyn, Latinos are everywhere, but what is it like being in a section of the city that maybe isn't as heavily Dominican as, say, Washington Heights? Or are you in a place where you feel like everyone has that shared culture to you?
Bushwick used to be a heavily Puerto Rican neighborhood and a Dominican neighborhood, but more Puerto Rican. And like, you'll still see pockets of that. Like, I'll still see like a lot of the bodegas are still owned by Dominicans. And if you ever come to Bushwick, um, like there is a witch store owned by twin gay brujos, Dominican brujo twins. You would be upset. So like what I don't have in Latin representation, I what I like about my neighborhood is that I do have tastes of Latin representation. There's really good Mexican food, a really good Ecuadorian food. I do see like there's Puerto Ricans, like a lot of Puerto Ricans. There are Dominicans and Dominican business owners throughout like my neighborhood, but the attractive thing to me is the art scene and the queer artists, the comedy and all of that, like, and that is pretty represented in Bushwick, and then also like thrift stores and all that stuff. It's like
Yeah.
I've been able to build a sense of community even though these people have different ethnicities than me, like, so it's just cool to see how Latin culture is also transforming too, and like that is pretty fascinating and fun to see.
I want to ask about the influence that Latinidad, like, especially in the comedy scene. Do you feel like you're not as alone as maybe when you first started comedy? Are there far more Latinos, Latinas that are in it? Or does it still feel like oh, wow, I'm I'm the only person of color on this ticket. I'm the only woman of color doing this.
The reality is yes to all of that. I do feel like and the good thing is that I can do a show anywhere. You know what I mean? And that's something that I could do a show uptown. I could do, and I've recently in the past 3 years, probably since the last time we talked, I've started performing Spanish comedy in Spanish. And yeah, so it's interesting because it depends on the seed, right? Like I am a very progressive, like for and I say forward thinking in terms of like how I think about the world, but also I mean my identity as a woman and a woman of color in this country and a black woman is going to be different than somebody else, whether we're Latino or not.
Yeah.
And also the work and the art that interests me, and also this I do see myself as a part of a scene, like an alternative comedy scene, that's not necessarily living in the conventions of this is stand up, this, but like something a little bit more, and people who want to hear like different points of view and stuff. So in some of my shows in English, I'll have a very young progressive crowd, queer. I was the only person. I was one time I was the only person on the lineup where I wasn't. I was like the only non-trans person. Like those are the shows that I'm doing. But then sometimes I'm doing these shows in Spanish, and I'm, being myself. I'm talking about being fat and having sex. I'm talking about how I view the world, and that, like, to that crowd is shocking and insane. And oh my god, this girl's crazy, and it's so fun, and they're so like titillated by like my,
Mm-hmm.
so you know what I mean, but like everyone's Latino, but they're not giving, so it's like I do feel myself in all of those spaces. And it depends. And in Dominican Republic, I'm kind of, the people who can have money to go to a comedy show like that can see, a comedian on their phone, on Instagram or something, and hear about it and buy a ticket online and all that. Like, it's kind of like the richest people, and that's not necessarily who I'm performing for in the US. In the US,
Such a good
and
point. I wouldn't have thought about that. Like the privilege of the 2 drink minimum and like being able to afford for a caretaker at home if you have kids. Like if you're going for a night out, maybe going for dinner beforehand. Like that's a night, and that could
that's
cost
a
some
night.
money,
And
especially for people who don't necessarily have that supplemental income to just do that every so often.
I feel like it's growing in Latin America, where like before, um this is kind of my take on it, or like my perspective of performing in is that like comedy as a form of entertainment, like as something to do on like a Friday, like in America, even like white people, black people, like, okay, what can you do on a Friday night in America? You go to a dive bar, a sports bar, you can go dancing, you can go karaoke, or you can go to a comedy club. The comedy club, and just like you don't know who's performing, you're just gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
That is a culture that is not really prominent in Latin America. Has like it's just kind of building up now. And not to say like Latino people have never seen comedy before, but like they're going to see an act that they like, not like discovering somebody
Like
new,
let's test it out. Let's see if this hour and a half lineup is exactly my cup of tea. What is the difference for you, if any at all, between a comedy mic and a podcast mic? And like what you can say or what you want to say depending on the outlet.
So with Go Touch Grass, it's kind of like hybrid, it's like it's not just a pure chat podcast. Like we do look at what's trending on the internet, and we talk about it, and we give our perspective and our like thoughts, and we kind of summarize what people are saying and stuff. So it's like it's so much more. So we kind of go into it more with like a story we want to tell, or like the point we want to make, and like reflect on that. And I guess that's similar to like when I'm performing stand up, but like with the podcast stuff, it's about like me. I want all my listeners to feel like they learned something, and it's not just me talking about like my period for an hour every week or whatever like it's just
Which if you
like
have to talk about that, sometimes you need an outlet for that.
sometimes you need an outlet, yeah. But like, we can talk about the Barbie Dream Fest for Lauderdale failure. You know what I mean? And like that kind of stuff, but then using that as a vehicle to talk about, and yeah, like I want people to feel like they know all the facts, they know how we feel, they know what the internet is saying, and like where do these conversations come from? It's not just like sometimes people are arguing about stuff on the internet and they don't know that it's like a loaded thing, or like there are just some topics where that go viral, where it's like, of course this was designed in a lab to go. So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
uh, analyzing culture in that way. And I still do that in my stand up, but I guess I don't feel like so compelled to make sure that I explained what's going on and the context and like why I feel that way. I feel like podcasts, you have to show your work a little bit
Oh,
of like how you get
absolutely.
there. And then people will still complain, people will still send whatever, but yeah.
It's that, like, the contextualization of any conversation can really only happen when you have not necessarily unlimited time, but far more time than a 5 minute set or a 12-minute set where you've got a red light going on telling you like, "Hi, dude, you got to wrap it up."
Yeah,
Um,
I ignore those. I don't pay attention to that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
it,
kidding. I'm kidding.
which has anything really changed? So I unfortunately post COVID, and I completely own up to this, that I haven't really seen a lot of stand up post
Mm-hmm.
COVID.
Mm-hmm. You're a
And
monster.
I am. I'm like, What am I doing in life?"
Cancelled.
But has any of those kind of tried and true traditions of stand up changed over the years? Or is it like, if you've been doing it for 10, 15 years, it's the same today as it ever was. The only difference is you got to have a TikTok presence.
I feel like it's really tough right now. Actually, it has changed a lot because people people are creating and performing in service of clips. Like it's more clip focused and it's more like whatever. And it's tough because it's like you don't sell ticket like you need followers to know when your shows are to sell tickets. You don't sell tickets if people don't see your stuff. If people don't like you, people can't see your stuff unless you post a thing. And face and Instagram will suppress your unless you're constantly posting but you can't post the same jokes over and over again. So you got to try out new jokes. And so there's that. So then people are just posting random clips. And then there are people who have figured out the system and know how to make a really funny video and but then, the way that the system works now, you can't really make money off video. Like you can like get monetization and whatever, but like if you want to do comedy now, like the really big way to do it is like to sell a special or to tour. And people are touring, and then this is very common in the new TikTok era post COVID, is that a lot of people have found success online, incredible success, and but then they haven't developed the grit and that element of talent that you need to perform on a stage. That's just a different skill. Doesn't mean they're worse, is it? But like, and they try to replicate like this 30-second video that has 5 million views to a 1 hour stage thing or whatever. And or they're not properly writing jokes or they don't, and it's just
Hmm.
like not taking the care and like the respect that comedy is an art and like it takes years to develop. And like I have to fight with myself on like, okay, but you still have to post. So there's that like kind of conversation because it's like there's one aspect of like it is getting lost by the clipification of stand up, and there's other aspect where I'm like people are fucking stupid. So I don't know. Yeah. I'm like, has comedy changed? Absolutely. And also, it's been a great equalizer where, like, before, if you want to get put on or if you wanted to get booked or if you wanted to get whatever, you had to, like, the crustiest, nastiest old white guy who was a booker at the Chuckle Hut has to with you and has to
Hmm.
think you're funny. And he might be like, actually, no one wants to hear a Latin prayer. No one wants to. And it's just like, actually, no, I have my own audience here, and you're just gonna have to like let me use the space. So like those are kind of the good and bad parts of that, you know what I mean? And like the good part is like I before I would, like I'd be beholden to the opinions of my fellow comics and this like corny out of date white guy. Now I'm like connecting with people. Social media has been giving empowered me to connect with people who want to hear from me, who want to hear what I have to say, who are interested, who are whatever. But and I also have to hear from people who really don't give a fuck and like want me to die.
Hmm. It's honestly, it's tough because we could see both sides of the coin, right? Of the democratization of what we do, like it allows us to do what we do. It gives us the opportunity to be the people of color that we are, to have the audiences that we have, to be able to talk about whatever we want to talk about with little to no guard railing. But we're also competing against 5 million other people who, chucked up the $50 to buy a podcast mic and to kind of say whatever they also want to say. And then regardless of talent and regardless of expertise, somebody sees, somebody moves on, and it kind of goes from there. But I think the thing that I feel like you probably enjoy, which I think I would enjoy if I ever had the guts to do stand up comedy, is the
Do it.
live improvisation. Like nothing probably beats the energy that you feel in the moment, the way a laugh hits a joke in the moment, and then how you respond to it, how you respond to like the random laughter over here. Like that must be something that hasn't changed, at least for you.
It's the feeling that that's like it's like unbeatable. Haven't been able to replicate it. Nobody's ever been able to make me feel the way that I feel when I'm on stage and or when I kill it. When I kill it and everyone's obsessed with me and they're like whatever and like bringing everyone in my corner, like yeah, that's unreplicable. And like you do all the things to, you put up with all this to get to that. Or
Hmm.
like even when somebody was like, or even when someone says, like, obviously that feeling is like crack. Like, it's like, I want that all the time. I also feel that when someone's like, this was really interesting, or I've never heard, comments on my thing, and it's like, I never heard, or like, thank you guys for putting it, or like, we agree, or, whatever. I've never, so it's like, those are the feelings that you chase, and that's why you do it.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just it does feel really good. I don't know what to tell you.
I know. But here this gets to something that you have on your social profile, which it says, "I want it all or nothing." And I feel like this kind of gets to that. Like either you want all the laughs, you want all the response, or like let me be, don't give me any half-assed like commentary, things that don't serve me. I feel
Yeah,
like you're probably trying to welcome and witness all the things that serve you and serve you for the better.
that's a Carly Rae Jepsen song lyric. So
That
yeah, I know. I'm like, it's a Carly Rae Jepsen, but I feel that, and I also feel that with like, yeah, like no more in between, like no half-assing, and like also, yeah, give me all your presence and attention, and I'll rock your fucking world. Yeah, that's a Carly Rae, and I think it's in reference to like a romantic partner, but that's been my bio for like 10 years on into, like a fun. Remember when everyone was putting like fun, like song lyrics and stuff, but that one really stuck with me. I'm like, yeah,
I mean, it's pithy. It's very concise. You know exactly what it's trying to say with what 6 words.
yeah.
So I love that that's something that you still have held on to after all these years. What can folks? So we're getting closer to summertime. I can't say summertime in New York is my favorite time because the heat. As somebody with a summer birthday, nobody would ever go to my birthday in New York because it was just that damn hot. But what are your
Well,
summer plans? What do you got? Like, do you have shows booked lined up? How can folks either interact with you during the summer? What's going on?
yeah. So this year has been so cold in New York that people are ready. I have never felt an itching for summer quite as much as I felt here. For my summer plans, we're heading into a new studio, so I'm really excited about that.
That's exciting.
Yeah, there's been murmurs like we're trying to get something together in Miami. I'll go touch grass live in Miami. I'll be doing a bunch of shows in New York City. And yeah, just like getting into this new era of, building out my studio and doing live shows, trying to pick which one. I have like I'm trying to be pickier with the shows that I'm doing because it just takes so much out of me to perform and to do stuff that like I can't be saying yes to everything anymore. And yeah, like hopefully doing something in Miami, maybe in the fall doing something in LA, and yeah, like just really enjoying. It's so funny. There's about a 50, 60 year old song about how great New York in the summer is. Jorge,
I know.
un verano en Nueva York, but it's just like, yeah, New York in the summer, so much going on, So much is happening. People are outside. People want to be outside more than ever. And I'm just like really looking forward to that like newfound energy. And then also, I am feeling like a fatigue and a hopelessness in the world that goes away when you're in person. You know what I mean? Like, and that's
Mm-hmm.
just like, I'm just really looking forward to, and I have to, I have to push myself. But like just doing more in person things and seeing my friends and being out because like that's just what's going to connect us.
Yeah. And that's honestly that is the thing that I miss and love about New York, and honestly just being around folks and friends in general is having those intimate connections, being able to realize like, you know what? Yes, there's all this stuff happening around us, but so long as that love and tenderness and care is present, that can kind of take us a little bit forward. I do want to end with something that, speaking of viral clips and things that people have seen, um, are you still an Android lover, supporter? There it is.
There's my flip, baby.
I love it.
Hello, hello.
So for those who haven't seen it, Milly's Subway take that with Kareem, Subway takes being the very popular viral vertical video show that's on Instagram. Uh, Milly's take was that Android phones are just that much better. And I, as somebody who used to have an Android phone, the camera was significantly
No,
better. I've since moved to an iPhone.
no. They've colonized you. They've
I know.
colonized you.
What did I do? But I love that you're holding true to the Androids.
Yeah, I'm still in New York and I'm still with my Android. Just like day one. I don't switch it up like you, Jorge. I
You're
don't get
like,
all
blue bubbles
Hollywood.
be damned. I'm sticking with my green bubble.
Yeah, you know, it's too late.
It is.
It's too late. I cannot switch.
You're like, I'm
Uh
grown. I've already
no, but
done this.
also, whatever. I'm just like, yeah, like it's like a funny thing. There's like it's rooted in truth, and it's like rooted in truth, but it is something also like, isn't it stupid that we just like make fun of people for like what phone they have? But it's also like, and it's also true that like it has been designed that way. That has been
Mm-hmm.
Apple's marketing strategy for years, to the point where like the European Union had to be like, actually, you're not allowed to have a different charger or to do the texting anymore. Like there is something about. And it's what I do a lot in my comedy. Like I bring it up not because androids are so important to me, but it is like such a ridiculous funny thing that people do discriminate over, but it can also be, I kind of just use it as a way to like make fun of discrimination and like
Mm-hmm.
in general of like, isn't it dumb that just like the color of my text make me a lesser human? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And people are like, you're so stupid, but I'm like, that's how
Am
people
I
feel
though?
about skin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, dang. I love look at how you just paired those two
Get it.
things
There we
together.
go. There we go. Listen, it's not just beauty. There's brains here too.
Colorism expands throughout different areas here. Well, Millie,
Period.
period, right there. Millie, thank you so much for joining me and for eating with me and
Yes.
for having this conversation. I hope that we don't wait another 5, 6 years for another interaction
I
because
know.
yeah, this was life giving. Thank
Yeah, come
you.
back to the city. I'll let you know when I go to the Bay Area. I have a friend who owns a very cute plant store in Oakland. So we gotta chat about that. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, please don't make it a bunch of years. Like I love talking to you.